live at the winery this morning, and on today's show we're hearing about some of the best places in town. We're also meeting the people that make this town so fantastic, and one of those is Laura Winton, who's the host of the Leighton Buzzard local podcast. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Right, thank you so much for dropping down.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us a little bit, first of all, about your podcast.
Yes, I run an account called Leighton Buzzard Local, and last year I thought, podcasting, it's big. I probably should try and maybe create a podcast myself, and the Leighton Buzzard Local podcast was born. So what I'm trying to do is really kind of highlight what goes on in Leighton Buzzard. I really want to make sure that people know, like we've already spoken to Johnny and Michelle, obviously they're telling you about all the great things that go on here. Often I meet people locally and they're like, oh, nothing really happens in Leighton Buzzard, and I think, no, we need to make sure that everyone knows about it so they can really support what goes on in our community.
Because there is so much that goes on.
There is so much, absolutely. And whether it's local businesses, whether it's community groups, charities, local events, we've had a flavour of those, and I know you've got some more coming up. I really just wanted to make sure people know about that.
And you obviously love Leighton Buzzard.
I do. I've lived here just over 10 years now, and it really is a fantastic place. When I did the podcast, a lot of people who are on the podcast, they describe it as a bit magical. There's a real community feel here that I think hasn't really been there in other places that I've lived.
So where were you before you came to Leighton Buzzard?
A brief stay in Milton Keynes, and before that, London. And
why Leighton Buzzard?
It's a bit of a weird one. So we were in Milton Keynes. My partner changed jobs, and we had to move. And Leighton Buzzard was the closest place to Milton Keynes, where we just found somewhere that we like.
Whenever we do these OBs, and we've done quite a few now, we always go out and about. We love asking people what they love about the place.
Yeah.
But also what could be done to make it better. Sounds like a lot of effort's been put into Leighton Buzzard, which is lovely.
Yeah.
What more can be done?
So I think we face, and again, Johnny and Michelle have mentioned it already, I think we face a lot of challenges that other places face as well within our community. There is investment that is needed here. A lot of our local businesses, they work really well together. We have a lot of independence, you've mentioned that already. But, cost of living times are hard. Businesses really do need support around here. And I think there's also a space for our community groups as well. They really do pick up the slack for things that happen in our community, so kind of investment in them and support for them as well.
And people will be listening to this who've never been to Leighton Buzzard. What would you say to those people to get them down here to visit?
I think whatever you're looking for, Leighton Buzzard really has it. So you've mentioned the market a couple of times already, which is obviously setting up out here. So our market is actually a charter market. It was a charter given to us by the Crown in 1208. But if you came down today, you'd see a really thriving market that's selling fruit, veg. We have bakery. At the weekends on our Saturday market, we have a farmer's market monthly. We have a handmade and vintage market monthly. So there really is, kind of anything that you're looking for. Entertainment, Top Tea, the new golf place has been mentioned. We're here at the winery. We have award-winning pubs. There's just so much going on. Whatever you're looking for, I think you can find it in Leighton Buzzard.
If people want to find out more about your podcast and listen in and stuff like that, where do they need to go?
So it's Leighton Buzzard Local. You can find it on YouTube.
Brilliant. Listen, thank you so much for coming down. I know you're staying with us all morning.
I am, yeah. Beautiful. I will be back.
Okay, now you can help yourself to an air freshener. We've got both, and you can have one that smells of me, so Febreze with a little bit of Dettol.
Okay.
Or you can have a vegan Ollie one, which is kind of like falafel with a hint of mushroom.
Excellent.
Yeah. Welcome to BBC Thre Counties Radio. We're here at the winery in the High Street in Leighton Buzzard, and we're talking about all that makes Leighton Buzzard so cool and brilliant, and what could be done to make it a wee bit better as well. We've been meeting the people that live and work in this town, and one of those people is Laura Winton, the host of the Leighton Buzzard local podcast. And we spoke earlier in the show, but for anybody who's just joining us now, very briefly tell everybody about your podcast.
So the Leighton Buzzard local podcast is something that I produce, and what I'm trying to do is just make sure that everyone in Leighton Buzzard knows what's going on and can find the things that they want to find, whether that's local business, community, charities or local events.
Okay, so we've talked about the independence, and there is a lot of independence, which I love, because people do, you need the big names, you need the John Lewis's, you need you need those kind of stores and stuff, Debenhams, etc., if you're lucky enough to have them, but you also need the independence, and I think there's a real flavour for the listeners to support their independence, which is great. But what about nightlife? What about after? During the day, there's loads to do here. Like we've talked about it, the high street and stuff. But what about in the evening? What's nightlife like in Leighton Buzzard?
It's really good. So we're just coming off the back of, obviously, January. Lots of people are doing dry January, and actually there's lots to do in Leighton Buzzard in the evenings, which doesn't involve alcohol. We could probably start there. So we have a theatre in Leighton Buzzard, and we also have multiple options for cinema. So our theatre shows films, and we also actually next door we have a secret speakeasy, and they have a cinema in the basement.
Really?
Which shows films. Yes,
I like
absolutely.
that. Little speakeasy, love the sound of that. Yeah.
We also have Happy Dashery. I know Caroline and Room Number 9 mentioned them. They do workshops in the evening, so you can do arts and crafts, that kind of thing. We have a bookshop, and on the first Thursday of the month, Book in Leighton Buzzard has a lock-in with authors that come along. So there's plenty to do. And coming soon, by the middle of this year, we're going to have not one but 2 escape rooms here in Leighton Buzzard.
Oh man, I'm no good at them. No good. Last time I did one of them with Ben and Danny, literally we were chased by a zombie.
Oh no!
And I threw Danny towards the zombie.
Sacrificed.
Yeah. He took it for the team, but it was like to unlock the padlock, you had to work out the pie.
There's a lot of brainbusters in there. I love an escape room, not the scary ones, but
I'm no good at that.
I like the really
with the theatre, and I don't think I've ever been to the Leighton Buzzard Theatre. How many people does it hold? Is it a biggie?
I'm not sure how many people it holds, but it's very well regarded. So the Leighton Buzzard Drama Group, they do a panto every year. So in January for 3 weeks, they have their panto on. So we do have live performances. They also have a comedy night once a month. So people come to Leighton Buzzard. And, I think we've moved on our comedy night. There is a story out there. Sue Perkins says that a gig in Leighton Buzzard was the worst one that she's ever done. So I can only hope that our comedy night has gone upwards since then.
Stick that on the poster. I love
Absolutely.
that. Like I said, there's loads going on, and with your podcast, it gives people somewhere to go to kind of like check out what's happening and stuff. If people want to find out more about your podcast, where do they need to go?
So they can go to my website, which is leightonbuzzardlocal.co.uk.
Beautiful. Laura, as always, thank you very much. It's always lovely to get a local's insight into Leighton Buzzard. I want to bring in as well, because as well as all this amazing infrastructure, Laura, we haven't talked, and we've talked about a lot in Leighton Buzzard, the green spaces. And Leighton Buzzard has got some brilliant green spaces.
Absolutely.
It really has. I mean, just name a few.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the Mayor's also already mentioned Parsons Close, which is the park that we have here in the town centre. That has a splash park, it has a skate park. It recently had the playground redeveloped, and we have a cafe there as well. So on a sunny day, you go down there, and there's just loads of people in there just enjoying that outdoor space, which is amazing. You're talking to the railway. They're based at Pages Park. We have a pavilion there. There's also tennis courts, basketball courts, an outdoor gym. So there really are so many spaces to enjoy in Leighton Buzzard. We're also part of the Green Sands Ridgeway Walk. So that goes from here all the way up to Rushmere. The Leighton Fun Runners, we're talking about Rushmere Park Run, which is obviously every Saturday. Parsons Close has a junior park run, which is every Sunday at 9 a.m. So it's not just about having these amazing spaces, it's also the people of Leighton Buzzard are really using them as well.
And I think what you're doing with your podcast is letting people know about it. Because no problem. Having these facilities is great, but getting the word out there, because people someone goes, well, I never knew we had that. There'll be people listening to this one other. We've got that.
Particularly if you don't mind me interjecting, trying to get people off the new estates to come and join in with these things as well.
And I totally agree with that. We have all these new houses. As you said, everywhere has new houses, but we really want to make sure that these people feel part of this community that we've been talking about all morning. We want to welcome them into the town.
There shouldn't be a them and us situation, which sometimes happens with new developments wherever they are. It get everybody involved. It's lovely that.
Infrastructure is a big part of that as well. We want to make it convenient for people to come into the town centre because we want them here. We want them to experience all these amazing events when we do close down the high street. We want them to feel like their first choice is to come here. Everybody's also mentioned we're close to Milton Keynes, but really, come and be part of our community here. Find something you love. Get stuck in.
I've got to say, you two have done a wonderful job, because right now I want to go to an estate agent and buy a house in Leighton Buzzard.
Well,
so
please
well done.
do. by Buy two, Andy. There's plenty of empty ones on the new estate.
Absolutely, and we have estate agents have their head office here, so I mean you've got many to choose from as well.
Listen, lovely to speak to you. I know you're staying with us, Mayor. You've done a wonderful job as always.
Well, thank you, Andy. Hope to see you again.
And I'll see you. We'll go and get a bacon roll at the end. Yeah. Thank you. We've been talking to the lovely Laura Wintard all morning. She's the host of the Leighton Buzzard local podcast. Once again, good morning to you.
Hello again.
Can I just say, first of all, when we have people on from podcasts, right, they talk about their podcasts, and there's always a bit of a game, no one's listening to the podcast, they're just saying that. What is everybody that's come in has always commented on you and the amazing work you're doing on your podcast, which must be incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much love for you in the room from people. Oh yeah, we listen to the podcast. She does a great job. She is Leighton Buzzard. That must be a lovely thing.
It is. It's absolutely amazing. As I always say, though, I can't do it without everybody in Leighton Buzzard. If people weren't around me making these things happening, then my podcast would just be a lot of dead air.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely a testament to the community we have here.
Right now, we've been hearing about Mead Open Farm, and we've been talking about what's there to do in Leighton Buzzard for nightlife and independence. But there's lots of things to do if you've got kids. If you've got young families, there's loads of things to do in Leighton Buzzard, don't there?
Absolutely. So when we moved to Leighton Buzzard, my kids were very young, and now they're teenagers. So Gabriel, Elliot, Mum's on the radio. And there is so much to do here. So whether there's, we've talked about our green spaces, we have a splash park here. It's very popular in the summer. Also, Milton Keynes, it's free. So there's so much to do here. We also have, people have been mentioning Top Tee, the new golf simulator place, which is also great for older kids. But next door, there's a place called Funtivity, and that's like a play area, an indoor play area, which has been very popular since it opened. There's loads of preschool groups, so one singing mamas, so you can take your baby along, have a sing, which is really good.
Love that.
And also, again, on the community feel, so Sunshine Soft Play, they do stay and plays for young children, and Jo, one of the owners, she actually runs Freddie and Friends, which is a local charity that helps people who have children with additional needs. So again, like even our businesses for families feed into our community feel as well. For older kids, we've got the skate park, we mentioned that in Pages Park, but also we have so many sports organisations in the town, and so many of them have youth divisions, so football, rugby, cricket, we have grounds for all of those. They all have young people playing sports on a regular basis. Leighton Fun Runners, you had them in, but their sister running club, the Leighton Buzzard Athletics Club, they have a youth division as well. There's a swimming club at Tittenfoot, again for a youth team, for people to come along and compete. So there's so much to do. Both of our upper schools run the Duke of Edinburgh, and we have a lot of our young people, again, feeding into our community, but a lot of our young people take part in volunteering locally as part of their Duke of Edinburgh, which is absolutely fantastic. And we have the Children's Trail. I don't know if you saw any of this when you guys were here earlier and you were walking around, but we have lots of little things. They're like bit artwork reflecting different books. So you can pick up a map from the library and you can follow that around the town centre with loads of little statues. There's a little mouse. Actually, no, I think it's the rat from Dick Whittington under one of the benches. And in the bandstand in the park, there's the stars from Peter Pan.
Lovely.
So yeah, there's so much to do for families.
You have been amazing this morning, Laura. You really have. People want to find out more about your podcast. Where do they need to go?
So there's a website, leightonbuzzardlocal.co.uk.
Thank you so much. Honestly, been brilliant. You really have.
Thank you for having me.
We have had a lovely